Good morning, my king.
Hey, baby.
I got another question for you.
Okay.
Fighting rules for relationships. You know, when people start dating and even when they get engaged and when they get married,
Yeah.
I think we should have fighting rules. I think we should have some rules and boundaries laid down in our relationship right from the get-go.
I think so. I know we developed our own fighting rules because we realized that we were going to scrap occasionally because we're both feisty. But I think it's important to learn how to fight fair. You know? So to have disagreements. I forget who it was who said, you know, if you agree on everything, then one of you is irrelevant. So
right.
We understood that we were going to have differences of opinion. We were not always going to see eye to eye. And when we had those differences of opinion, we would effectively be fighting, but we had to do it in a fair way. So that meant we didn't have to call each other names. You know, we didn't have to diss each other. We didn't have to make the other person feel inferior just because we wanted to bring our point across. So we had to create a safe environment where we could have differences of opinion, but the other person didn't feel like they were being hard done by.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think one of our fighting rules, like you said, name calling.
Yeah.
I'm particularly sensitive to being called names. This is something from my childhood. So that's one thing that we set, that, you know, when we fight, no matter how angry we are, we're not calling each other derogatory names and causing mental and emotional damage by the words that we call each other just because I was in a fit of anger. Because one of the things that we have is the gift of self-control. So just because you're angry and just because you're not pleased with a situation and just because you're disgruntled does not mean you can call your spouse, you can call your girlfriend, your boyfriend names and call them whatever, and then later on say, oh no, I'm sorry, it's because I was angry. So that's one of our fighting rules.
Yeah, one of the other ones is learning how to keep short accounts.
Yes.
So, you know, we decided a long time ago that we wouldn't allow fights to cover a period which was over 2 weeks. If anything had happened more than 2 weeks ago, we said, look, it has to be, you have to bury that, you know, and that allows you to stop fighting about things that happened 20 years ago. Because if you're not careful, you can be fighting all the time. I bet you did this to me 20 years ago. Hey, listen, come on now. Keep short accounts, you know, understand that you're supposed to be enjoying the relationship, and you can't do that if you're always dredging up old mistakes that, you know, your spouse has done. We all make mistakes. Last time I checked, none of us are perfect, you know what I mean?
That's right.
I heard somebody say the other day, they said, you know, how was it when you were walking on water? You know, what was the experience like? The reality is, we ain't done it, you know?
That's right.
That lets me know that you and I are fallible, we make mistakes. So when I guess the biggest gift that we can give one another is the gift of forgiveness and not allowing old things to keep sullying and messing up what is essentially a great relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we've got time for one more. I'm going to talk about laying on of hands. Again, I think it adds on, and you know, from the first point where we spoke about calling each other names, I think it's important as well in a relationship to talk from the get-go. No laying hands on each other. This thing of using each other as punch bags. Before we used to hear that it's the men that lay hands on their women. Nowadays we've got chicks who know how to give it back as good as they get it.
Sure.
I think that's something that has to be a boundary. You've got to discuss it from the get-go. If you allow each other to throw hands at each other and you never discuss it and you never resolve it, let me tell you something, it's going to get more and more and more violent. Anything you allow just a little bit of, next thing it's an inch, next thing it's a whole yard, next thing it's a whole mile of it. So it's important that when there is a disagreement, you do not hit each other. Domestic violence, any kind of physical violence to each other is not right. He is not your child, neither is she your child. And we're not supposed to be beating up on children anyway.
For sure.
So what makes us think we should go around beating up on each other? Because we're trying to get our point across. Because I don't like how she responded. Because I don't like what he did. Keep hands off each other.
Yeah, so those are just 3 of the fighting rules.
Yeah.
So you can have your differences. I got to make that clear, because sometimes people act like, you know what, we just agree on everything.
It's not all rosy.
Yeah, well, maybe that's your thing, but I know we have strong differences of opinion because we're 2 strong characters. But the reality is those rules protect both of us and allow us to have differences of opinion and just enjoy each other's company, and just enjoy this relationship. You can't build something, and how do we put it? You can't expect a positive harvest when you're always sowing negative seed. So
right.
I guess the rule of thumb is just try and do it in a positive, safe environment, and then you'll be amazed at the results you get. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Lovely. That was good.
Excellent.
Anyway, God bless you guys, and we will see you soon.
Have a good week.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.